In this video, I'll be demonstrating how to make this stylish crop top with mandarin collar. This can be paired with a high-waisted trouser or skirt. You're welcome to Kemafrik. My name is Kemi Omorube. Let's get on to work right away. So we're making a crop top and I'm starting the pattern afresh right from the beginning. This video will contain both the pattern drafting and the sewing tutorial because it's just a simple, very simple outfit. Now I didn't put out a margin or anything because I want to use the entire length of this paper. I don't want to start attaching an extra paper down below. And I'm working with a shoulder width of 16 inches, so I marked 7 here. Now because it's a boxy outfit, I will usually use 15 inches for my shoulder width. That's 7.5 for half the shoulder width, but I'm just going for a freer look even along the shoulder. So I'm marking 8 inches, and also the neckline I'll still leave my neckline as 3.5 by 3.5. So I'm marking my shoulder slants 1 inch, and from the top I'm marking 9 inch, that's 8 inch downward. I'm also marking the same shoulder width here of 8 inches, and I'll be creating the chest line. So if you want a full tutorial on how to draft a basic bodice, please check it out. So midway here I have 4 inches, and I'll mark half an inch inward and create the armhole right here. Guys, you know what stops a lot of us from practicing? Because we are scared of making mistakes, we're scared of all sorts. But the truth is, if you don't practice, how will you get better? How? There's no other way. So you must just damn your fears and go for whatever you want to do. Just do it. What's the worst thing that can happen? You lost some fabric, you lost some times, but you'll have gained the knowledge, or you'll have known how not to achieve that. Okay, you'll have known a way not to achieve that. So let's continue before I start my usual pep talk. Now the bust circumference I like to use is 42 inches, which leaves me at 10.5, but I'm going for an easy outfit, so I'm adding a whooping 1 inch to this, and I just marked it right here. So this is not a basic bodice or anything, but it's just a boxy outfit. So right here I won't be using the waist circumference because this outfit is just going to be a straight one. Normally I will have used my hip circumference of 44 inches, but this is not the hip anyway, it is just a guide. Okay, so 44 inches, that means I'm marking 11 here. But then since here is 11.5, I'll just come here and add 11.5 too, so that I can just have a straight look. It's a crop top, free and all that. Can you imagine all my years of making outfits? I've never ever made a crop top. This doesn't make me anxious in any way, but at the same time, I can't shake that feeling of, oh, is the length long enough? Because I made use of length of 20 inches. This is 20 inches. And I'm just wondering, is this how it's supposed to look? Is it supposed to be this? You know, I don't know. But there's just that part of me that isn't very confident about this. But I'm happy I'm bringing you along, so let's do this. I like a modification at this front, and I want to make it a V-shaped neckline, and then we'll attach a band around the V-shape. I don't know if you get the picture, but I'll measure, just follow me anyways. I'll measure the depth of my V. I don't want it too deep, at the same time not shallow. So I think 8 inches or 9 will be a safe place. So 8 inches is a safe place for me. So I'm going to just mark 8 inches here and create a V shape. Okay guys, so from the neckline, I'm marking 2 inches to the side so that I can have inches on the neckline, okay, not just to the side. So I'm measuring this neckline with from here to here is 2 inches. So let's just keep that in mind because we'll still need that when we are sewing. So I'll just connect this to form the V shape at the front. And basically that should be all for this. For the back, just still a regular back 3.5. We'll also do a slight modification on the neckline later, and then 8 inches wide with a 1 inch shoulder drop and the shoulder slant. The chest line is 9 inches from the top. I'm measuring the shoulder again here, which is 8. So basically I'm repeating the entire process for the back. Really the neckline that is slightly different here. And I'm taking the same measurement. We have 11.5 at the bust, and at the hem another 11.5. So at the back here we also want to do something, and I'm marking another V-shape back neckline, which will be finishing up with a strap that is continuous from the front. So I'm marking, how deep should we make this? We can actually make it deeper. No, let's go with 6 inches, and we have this for the back. So the V shape I'm marking out from the back is from the shoulder, the tip of the shoulder, while that of the front is from a part of the neckline, okay? I would actually like this to be deeper actually. So let's take it down. No fear allowed, right? Because sometimes I'm wondering, would this be okay? Hope it won't be too deep. Hope it won't be da. So I'll cut out this pattern and it will be time to transfer to fabric. We need a facing for both the back and the front. And for the back facing, I would like it to start from the tip of the armhole. So I would like it to start from the tip here, and I'm just going to draw a massive V all the way down. The depth here should be like 3-4 inches thereabout, and you can also have it looking rounded around that part. So it even seems I'll prefer it to be round, but let's start with a straight line from here. Then I'll try to see if I can achieve a curve all the way down. Okay, not that much of a curve, but that's it for the back. And for the front, I'll do something similar, just that I don't need it to get to the tip, so I'm going to just start from here and draw. You can measure 3 inches from the center front of the neckline here, or 4 inches, and you know, mark out your facing. Now I won't cut out the facing until I'm done cutting out the fabric. Next, I just want to place this on my fabric and cut. Here is the fabric we'll be using. It's a kind of a polished material, but it has a pattern on it. It has texture. Yes, that's the term, texture. But you can work with any cotton fabric, cashmere, bishop material, any of those will work for this outfit. So I had to split the center back open because my fabric wasn't enough and I wanted to minimize the fabric usage so I can get the type of sleeve I want. Now I'll go ahead to cut out the facing from the pattern and then transfer it to fabric. Back facing, front facing. Let's move on to the sleeve. Here is the sleeve pattern I'm using. I also added 1 inch ease at the side. Now I'll go ahead to cut it out with 1 inch seam allowance. Also, you need your hemming allowance. I will just make use of what I have left here as my hemming allowance. Now even for the sleeve, I'm going for like a boxy look, so that's why here is looking straight. Yes, so here we have it, all our pieces ready apart from the collar. Now I had to tape back my pattern so that I can show you something and not just be explaining. It may be hard for you to understand. So you will need to measure the neckline since you are working with a bishop collar, mandarin collar and all that. So you measure around the neckline for the front. It was 2 inches till this point, and then we have 5.75 here. So that of the back from here (3.5). By the time we add the two together, we have 9.25. So 9.25 is the width we need for one side of our collar. Remember that we need to have 2 of that to go around the neckline. So 9.25, have that in mind. So it's better that I show you this rather than just trying to explain something that is abstract. Now to create the mandarin collar, I'll just make the full collar so that every confusion will be gone. So let's put this paper on fold. We are making a 180-degree flare. So I'm folding this way, and this is the center. And round the neckline, we need 9.25 times 2, which is 18.5. Now take the 18.5 and divide it by 3.14. That's the formula for half a circle flare, right? So 3.14, 18.5 divided by 3.14 give me 5.9. So I'll just measure 5.9 downwards, 5.9 inches downward, all the way around. Okay. Measure the height of the collar I need, which in this case is 1 inch, or you can make it slightly longer than 1 inch. This is 1/1/8 of an inch. I'm going to cut this out, and we have the pattern for our collar. So here we have the pattern for our mandarin collar. Now here is the collar cut out. This is the center front. You need 2 pieces of this, okay? So I have one here. For the second one, I had to cut it in 2. That's the part that will be acting as the lining of the collar. And this is what we have. Now onto the sewing process. We'll be starting with the deep V neckline. Here's the right side of this fabric, and I'm placing the right side of the front facing over it, and we'll be sewing close our neckline by half an inch. I will start by stabilizing these two using my pins. Using pin can make your work way easier and faster because it saves you from having to rip your seams off. Now before I turn my facing inside out, I need to create notches at this sharp junction here so that it relaxes properly when I do the turning. Be careful not to rip the seams anyway. Now onto the back, I will need to first join the two sides of the back together. If yours was in a piece, then you can skip this step. Now here is the back piece. I've gone ahead to stitch the two sides together and to overlock the seam allowance. Just like I did for the front, I'll be sewing the interfacing. You can see that the interfacing is not cut into pieces. I'll pin these two pieces together. Make sure that all the seam allowances align with each other. Then I'll go ahead to sew by 1/2 inch, just like I did for the front piece. Now here is the back piece with the facing fixed already, and we also have the front here. Here is the front piece and here is the back piece. I want to sew these two together along the shoulder, and we'll place the right side facing the right side. We want to ensure that our outfit look as neat as possible on the inside. So remember that we are still attaching a collar that will pass through this side of the front neckline, this little curve here. So we are only closing up the rest, leaving that 1/2 inch seam allowance. But because I want to use the facing to turn the shoulder line here, I'm going to notch by 1/2 inch so that I can leave this 1/2 inch free for sewing. I'm leaving, take a good look at it. So I left 1/2 inch. So I'm going to use the back facing to turn. We are not using that 1/2 inch. So I'm using the back facing to turn the rest, and we'll sew by 1/2 inch. Okay. Now here's what we have at the end of the day. This is the front, and here's the 1/2 inch cutout we made, and this will allow us attach the collar. Now onto the collar, I have two pieces here. I have done the joining at the middle of the other one, and I also ironed in fusible interfacing. Now we start by sewing these two pieces together by 1/2 inch at the top, that's the smaller curve, and I will also be adding a loop for the button right here. Now here it is joined, and then you take your scissors and either notch or you trim off the seam allowance so that it becomes tinier, and you can have a neat look when you turn this collar inside out. From the right side. So now I'll turn it inside out. Now once that is done, I'll turn my collar inside out, go give it a good press. Here we have it. You need to notch the now we are ready to fix. So remember that the width of the neckline at the center was 2 inches. That's 2 inches on both sides. That's 4 inches, right? So I folded up my collar and then marked 2 inches to the side so that I will know the part to align with the V part of the neckline. I hope you understand what I mean. So create a notch or you mark with a chalk. Okay, so this I did for the both sides. I have to fix this into the collar. Okay, I almost forgot that, this side of the collar. Now I just want, depending on the size of the button you're going for, I just want mine to be like 1 inch wide, and then because I still have 1/2 inch seam allowance, we have this. I'll trim a little bit, then I'm going to pin it on one of these. Then actually I can make use of two, so we'll have two of the buttons here. Then I'll go ahead to close up the side. I'll close up the other side as well. Now I have stitched this to keep them stable, and I'm just going to turn this side over and sew here close. For the other side as well, I'll just turn this two inside out and close up this side. Now here is our top so far, and I have prepared the collar right here. So what I want to do next is to fold in half an inch on both sides of the collar. So I'll fold it in and give it a good press on both sides of the collar. So this is necessary because it will make the entire sewing process way easier than it will have been. But while you are folding, note the part we notched 2 inches away from the center front. You can use a chalk to mark it on both sides of the collar. Now here's the collar ironed in by half an inch, and my notches are right here. Okay. Pin down the neckline. So starting at my notch for this part, and we're just going to be top stitching. Pretty easy now, right? So I'm sandwiching the neckline in between the collar, okay? So work with half an inch because we have half an inch seam allowance right there. So just hold it all round with pins, and we'll move on to the sewing machine to sew. So remember the part we notched here, we are sandwiching that part into the collar. Then we'll have this part of our neckline looking all neat. So this is like the easiest way to do this. This is the easiest way I can explain this. So once we get here, we just continue on only the collar, sewing, top stitching on the collar very neatly. This pressing in your seam allowance just makes the work way easier. I actually tried doing it the other way, using one side of the band, but then I realized how difficult it was for me to explain the process that way. And I decided to do this. I'm glad. You can go ahead to cross check, especially the width here. So cross check to ensure that your collar lays flat on the bodies and all that. Everything is well balanced before you go ahead to sew. That will save you from having to rip your seam once you're done sewing. The almighty pins are lifesavers. Yep. So we have it right here. So this is what our neckline will look like at the end of the day. I hope this is clear. So if there are any gray areas, go ahead to cross check. You can see the way the collar is laying flat, the neckline is flat. That's the goal, that's our aim. And I'll go ahead now to top stitch all around this collar by about 1/8 of an inch, but it has to be a very neat stitch so that it just appears neat on the right side. Okay, I realized I didn't use the side of the collar I wanted to use. Okay, I wanted to use the plain side, the side without the joining, but what I was describing earlier on has a joining at the center. I was using the back, that's the lining side. I went ahead to turn it around and I have this. Let's move on to the sewing process. So here's what we have. Okay, our collar is fixed. So this is what our outfit looks like so far. Pretty, right? Now we are moving ahead to fix the sleeves. Here we have our sleeve cut out already, and I'll just go ahead and attach it round the armhole. Okay, so here's what we have now that I've fixed the sleeve. What I'll do next is to sew the side seam. Pretty easy, right? So I'm going to sew the side seam. Remember, we added just 1 inch seam allowance, and I'll sew all the way. I will sew on the both sides of the outfit by 1 inch. Now here is what we have. I have sewn the side seam, and this is what our top looks like. I'll go ahead to fold the hem, both for the sleeve and for this, by 3 inches each. But before I do that, I'll need to press my seam allowances 1 and then 2 inches. Press it. I may actually use hemming glue to give it some structure along the hem rather than sewing. I'll do the same thing for the sleeve, and to be time to unveil. Unveiling time. Here is our crop top, looking boxy, fabulous and stylish. Thank you for watching. Please drop a comment in the comment section if you enjoyed this tutorial. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you once again. Bye, and see you in the next video.